They summoned us with lies, smiled while signing death warrants, promised peace, but sent mercenaries to burn our colonies. They thought we'd beg, kneel, crumble. Instead, we sent a message back, one word, spoken across every comm channel, every frequency and every council language. Just one word. Run. They told us we were welcome, shook our hands with 3 fingers, bowed with antennae, raised their bio-flags in honor of the Terran Integration Accord. They gave speeches about unity, equality, interspecies prosperity. And in those same breathless hours, while humanity watched fireworks over New Geneva and broadcast peace to a galaxy it had only just begun to understand, the votes were already being cast in secret. No one saw it coming. Not the scientists, not the diplomats, not even the spooks buried in Earth's intelligence web. Not until the colony on Virelia Prime went dark. What do you mean, no survivors? Director Silas Rourke stood still as stone, the audio feed crackling behind his eyes. In the hollow silence of the Mars command chamber, 10 admirals and 4 civilian representatives listened as the scout's voice trembled. It wasn't pirates, sir. No looting. No open comms. They used ion scatter bombs to shut down the satellites before impact. Civilian grid was taken out in under 4 minutes. Automated defense systems deactivated remotely. Someone had their codes. It was clean. Rourke exhaled. Not a breath of panic. Just a long, ancient sigh, the kind only humans could perfect, like someone slowly placing a tombstone on their own soul. Visuals? A flicker. The holoscreen blinked to life. Fires. Craters. The broken arc of what used to be a school dome. Then the still frame of a girl, 8, maybe 9, lying in the soot, arms still wrapped around her little brother's body. Both charred. Neither whole. No one in the room spoke. Not until a faint voice came from the playback. Help us! It was automated. A recorded distress signal on loop. It had been playing for 17 hours before the drone finally arrived. By then, there was nothing left to help. They did this, whispered Admiral Jien. Her voice cracked with something between rage and awe. The Council. The bastards used us for our tech, our logistics, and now they're cleaning house. Rourke didn't nod. Didn't speak. Just reached for the control pad and froze the image. Run the logs again. Start from the satellite intercepts, track every Council ship movement 2 days prior. We already did. Came a young lieutenant near the edge. His throat clicked dry. It's not just Virelia, sir. We've lost contact with Iones, Kestrel 9 and… How many? 17 colonies. The silence that followed felt like a death. The emergency meeting on Earth was not streamed. There were no speeches, no translators, no ceremonial fanfare. Just 12 chairs in a steel room, and one man standing. President Elijah Marr. Elected 3 years prior for his steady hand, his quiet voice, and his belief in diplomacy. He stood taller now. They struck us in the shadows. They used our trust, our openness, our peaceful intentions against us. They made sure their own ships were just far enough to pretend innocence. They'll deny. They'll redirect. They'll hide behind bureaucracy and say it was a mistake. He looked around the room. Each face met his gaze with the same answer. No one wanted war. But this was not war. This was betrayal. They think we'll come to plead. That we'll ask for justice through their channels. That we'll follow their rules. We won't. He tapped the table once. A screen unfolded in the air, bearing one word in clean, white letters against black. Run. That is the only warning we give. No declarations. No treaties. No second chances. We have enemies that think our restraint is weakness. Let's teach them what strength really looks like. The message was broadcast on every known frequency, in every dominant language, in a voice that was synthesized but unmistakably human. It was short. Cold. Delivered without emotion, without pause. To those who sanctioned the extermination of Terran lives, hear this message. You made a choice. Now we have too. We will not ask again. We will not plead. You have one word. Run. Across the galaxy, every eye turned toward Earth. Some in confusion. Some in contempt. And some, those who had studied human history in full, trembled. On Zentorian, the Galactic Council's central hub, Ambassador Tyren Vok of the Drenvok raised his bulbous head in mock amusement. Dramatic species, the humans. Always with their little speeches. I suppose they believe vengeance is a virtue. Counselor Miraxis of the Zegari blinked her translucent eyelids. They lost colonies. Grief makes beasts of even the civil. We should let them grieve. They'll return to the table in time. A cough. It came from the far end of the chamber. An aide, young, nervous. She hesitated, holding a datapad. Yes? Vok snapped. She stepped forward. We've received reports. 26 Council beacons have gone dark in the outer sectors. No ship traffic. No response to pings. Silence. Pirates? Offered Miraxis. No signs of skirmish. No trace at all. It's like someone erased them. Counselor Vok's smile faded. Back on Earth, Rourke sat in the dark, watching the stars. He didn't smile. He didn't speak. He simply watched as tiny pulses of light blinked across the solar map. Each blink meant a command sent. A fleet moved. A message delivered. And somewhere, someone, alien, powerful, proud, was realizing the truth. Humanity didn't start this war. But they would end it. And when the dust settled, the only words left on 1,000 burning worlds would be the ones we gave them. Run. You sure about this? Commander Rourke's voice was even, but the steel beneath it was unmistakable. President Marr didn't blink. They murdered children, Silas. And then tried to bury it under protocol. We warned them. Now we act? The war room was silent. Not with uncertainty, but readiness. Rourke tapped the table once. A ripple of lights pulsed along the surface. Screens blinked to life. 6 red zones highlighted across Council space. None were military targets. All were communications nexuses, banking cores, and transit nodes. Operation Ghost begins in 6 hours. Full cyber infiltration. No civilian casualties. But their systems will scream. Beside him, Admiral Jian folded her arms. We go loud after? No, Rourke replied. Not yet. We let the silence hit them first. Confuse them. Make them paranoid. Then, we let them hear the word again. On the other side of the room, Colonel Imani cleared her throat. Council intelligence is still mocking us. They think we're bluffing. They're running debates on newsnets about whether Earth's message was a translation error. Mar's face didn't shift. Let them debate. When the lights go out, they'll understand every syllable. Centaurian's power grid failed in less than 4 seconds. It started with flickering lights in the lower administrative towers. Then elevator systems locked. Then public transit halted mid-track, leaving hovercars suspended above panic-snarled streets. Bank AI network stuttered and stalled. Millions of credit transfers simply vanished. Panic didn't arrive all at once. It leaked into the system like cold air into a sealed room. One by one, Council aides checked comms. No outbound signal. Internal messages bounced. Interstellar relay systems failed. And then the screens lit up. Not from the Council's own systems. From Earth. Plain black background. One word in white glyphs, rotating across every language the Council used. Run. Ambassador Vok of the Drenvok stood frozen as it played on every surface in his suite. This is a stunt, he said aloud, voice brittle. They can't strike Centaurian. It's protected under. A high-pitched tone cut him off. His datapad began to heat in his palm. He dropped it. It shattered, hissing smoke. Council security. He barked into the air. Emergency alert. No reply. He turned. Every light in the room had gone out. In Council Chamber 11, Miraxis of the Zegari stared at the blank screens. Her aide was trembling. Counselor, our planetary accounts have been drained. 47 systems. Simultaneously. How? She rasped. Her lungs, adapted to ammonia, wheezed in and out. That's impossible. We have redundancies. Humans must have infiltrated. Silence. Her claws curled in. This is a bluff. They don't have that reach. But they are primitives. Only recently did they qualify for council induction. They cannot. The lights snapped on. Then off again. Then on. The word flashed again, larger this time. The walls began to pulse with a low hum. The aide dropped to the ground, covering his head. Miraxis stood in the glow of the flickering screen and finally understood. They weren't being threatened. They were being studied. Back on Earth, Rourke watched the silent collapse unfold like a symphony. Banking sector? Neutralized, said Imani. We locked them in a recursive loop. Their systems are rewriting their own ledgers. Communications? Offline across 10 core sectors. All long-range beacons hijacked. Only thing they're getting is our broadcast. Military? Still untouched, she replied. For now. Rourke nodded. Let them stew. Fear needs silence to grow. He tapped a final sequence into his terminal. Let's see who calls us first. 2 hours later, the first message came in. From the Rautheri. An insected species with a rigid caste system, once loyal lapdogs to the Council. Now, their message was short. We request dialogue. Immediate. With Earth. Mar leaned forward. Why? The translated reply was clinical. Council deception exposed. Humanity's efficiency noted. Our loyalty is no longer assumed. Mar didn't smile. Tell them to send a delegation. He looked to Rourke. 1 down. Many to go. The Council convened an emergency session, 20 hours too late. What we are facing, growled Vok, is not mere retaliation. It's systemic sabotage. Coordinated. Surgical. This is an act of war, hissed Miraxis. And we must treat it as such. One of the junior delegates, a soft-spined aquatic from the Ilex quadrant, spoke for the first time. But we did betray them. The room fell silent. I mean the votes. The colony raids. We authorized them. They sent proof of our involvement to 1,000 systems. Vok turned slowly. And that justifies this? They didn't fire a single weapon, said the Ilex, voice barely audible. They just pulled threads. And now our fabric is unraveling. Miraxis slammed her palm down. Then we must crush them before they unravel more. And if they already unraveled enough to predict this meeting? The delegate whispered. A new message flashed on the chamber's primary screen. Not from the Council. From Earth. It simply said, now you know fear. Colonel Imani watched the live feeds from dozens of worlds. Riots. Power outages. Trade routes collapsing. Races once loyal to the Council now questioning every directive. Rourke stepped beside her. They expected a frontal assault, she said. We gave them ghosts. He nodded. Hit hard. Vanish faster. Repeat. They'll regroup. They'll try, he replied. But fear reshapes faster than force. They've seen what we can do without lifting a gun. That changes everything. Mar joined them, arms crossed. They'll deny it publicly, he said. Say they're stabilizing. But inside they're cracking. We've shown every world they control how fragile the Council really is. What's next? Imani asked. Mar answered without hesitation. Now we make them beg. Back in the Council chambers, Miraxis sat in silence, her claws trembling. The footage of Virelia Prime had leaked galaxy-wide. The girl in the ashes? The dead clutched in arms too small to fight. The satellite timestamps proving Council warships had been cloaked nearby. The galaxy didn't care about policy anymore. It only saw monsters. And Earth, the race no one respected, had become the reckoning. The lights went out again. This time, there was no message. Only the reflection of fear on every counselor's face. And in the silence, they finally understood. The humans had meant it. The silence after the sabotage was louder than war. In less than 3 days, Earth had erased the illusion of control the Galactic Council wielded for centuries. Their news feeds were dark. Their currencies were chaos. Their messages never arrived. And the one word that slipped through the blackouts, run, was beginning to echo in places it had never reached before. The Miraxis homeworld entered martial lockdown. Drenvok border patrols opened fire on their own merchants by mistake. The Ralthari switched their beacon language to Terran Standard and refused to explain why. Fear wasn't just spreading. It was calculating. On the edge of the Taucan system, a lone Council cruiser drifted into human-controlled space. It bore no weapons, no escort, no demands. Its engines were cold when Earth's interceptors arrived. Admiral Jian stood in the receiving bay as the cruiser's doors hissed open. Inside stood one passenger, a diplomat of the Lesser Council species, breathing heavy in a suit barely holding pressure. "I come on behalf of systems wishing to realign," he said, coughing. "There is confusion. Unrest. Our people were not involved in the decisions made against your colonies. We wish only to survive." Jian studied him with the same expression she gave enemy scans. "You're defecting." "No," he said quickly. "We're recalibrating loyalty. Not out of fear, but pragmatism." She didn't laugh. She didn't have to. Behind her, the Terran emblem glowed red. "The galaxy isn't rearranging itself because you're afraid," she said. "It's doing so because it finally saw the truth. You're not leaders. You're parasites. And Earth doesn't negotiate with infestations." The diplomat flinched. "Please. We're willing to assist. Technology. Resources. Names. We'll give you names." Now she smiled. "That's the first honest offer the Council's ever made." Back on Earth, President Mar reviewed the transmission. No sound. Just a list of names, titles, locations. Those responsible for authorizing the Virelia attacks. 17 signatures. 11 still alive. He slid the tablet to Colonel Imani. She scrolled without blinking. "Do we confirm?" she asked. "Already have. The signatures match." Mar tapped the final line. "Centaurian hosts 6 of them. The rest have gone underground." Rourke stepped forward. "We could strike now. Quick surgical extractions. But if we wait..." "We don't wait," Mar said. "They didn't wait to vote for our deaths. We act." Jian leaned in. "Permission for Ghost Fleet to proceed?" He didn't hesitate. "Granted. No speeches. No warnings." She nodded once and left. In the orbital shadow of Altherin Prime, Counselor Vok never heard the approach. 1 second his transport was gliding through the blue atmosphere, the next, static shattered the controls and a pulse from an invisible source shut everything down. He awoke in a cold steel chamber with no lights, no noise, just breathless air and a voice. "Counselor Tyran Vok," the voice said calmly. "You authorized Operation Theta." His mouth opened, but no words came. His mind raced. His claws scratched at nothing. "You sanctioned the deaths of 32,000 civilians, including 1,300 children." Still silence. A low click echoed. The door opened. Light poured in. A man stepped forward. Terran. No armor. No weapons. Just presence. "We are not here to ask you why." Vok tried to speak, to beg, to reason, but the human raised a hand. "We're here to deliver something your council abandoned." He handed Vok a tablet. On it, the same footage from Virelia Prime, the girl, the smoke, the static hum of the final transmission. Vok dropped it. Or tried. His limbs were trembling too hard to hold it. "Do you feel it now?" the human asked. "That helplessness? That silence?" Vok blinked wildly. You can't kill me. I am a sitting counselor, protected under charter." "You're not being killed," the human said. "You're being recorded." Another screen turned on. A feed. Live. "You're going to tell the galaxy what you did. And why." And then you're going to read this. A script appeared on the screen. Vox scanned it. His skin paled. I won't. You already did, the human interrupted. This is the end of your story. You get to choose the last line. Centaurian, still recovering from the system blackout, exploded into chaos the moment Vox's confession aired. Footage of him stuttering through the details of the Virilia vote. Admitting the deception. Admitting the plan. Admitting the silence. Across 12,000 systems, the Council lost its legitimacy in seconds. Protests erupted. Flags were torn down. Council chambers sealed themselves in panic. Miraxis slammed her claws against the desk as the broadcast looped. You let him speak? You let him live? Her aide stammered. We couldn't intercept it. Earth's system overrides. Earth? She screamed. We let that dirt-covered backwater in for their logistics, not their morality. From the corner, another counselor spoke, voice quiet. Then maybe it was a mistake. She turned, eyes burning. What did you say? The elder counselor raised his glass. I said, he whispered, maybe we should have listened when they said run. Back on Earth, the room was quiet. Jian stood near the window, arms crossed. That's 3 counselors down. The other 8 are off-world or hiding. Rourke was pacing. They're cornered. Desperate. They'll try something reckless. Mar looked up. Let them. He stood, slow, deliberate. Their mistake wasn't just thinking we'd break. It was thinking we'd stay silent. He turned to them both. Humanity doesn't yell. We don't need to roar. One word. That's all it took. One word, and now they're running from their own shadows. Jian nodded. And when they're done running? Mar's voice dropped to a whisper. Then we end it. The 4th name on the list was Counselor Hate Voller of the Miraxis Dominion. Unlike Vok, she didn't hide. She held a press conference. We will not be threatened by primitives, she declared. The Galactic Council stands united. Earth's actions are terrorism. We must retaliate, decisively. But there was no applause. The reporters said nothing. A few stared at their feeds, pale. The broadcast cut halfway through. Someone had overridden the transmission. Her image vanished. Replaced by a looping video, a grainy, slow-motion capture of a Miraxis cruiser hovering over Virilia Prime just before the ion scatter bombs detonated. Earth didn't add commentary. Didn't need to. The crowd left in silence. Later that night, Hate's personal transport exploded 5 seconds after ignition. No warning. No claim. No trace. Just another absence. At Earth's command center, Admiral Jian reviewed the footage without blinking. Not us, she said. That wasn't us. Rourke nodded. We didn't need to. Someone else did. Council's collapsing from the inside. No, Mar said behind them. They're finally seeing who built it that way. He stepped forward, eyes sharp. Their strength was never truth. It was fear. But now fear has a new face. Ours. Rourke glanced at the updated map. We've got Council agents reaching out from neutral systems. 3 more factions requesting talks. Let them wait, Mar said. The message has to land before the terms are delivered. Jian leaned forward. Sir, if we don't formalize alliances. No flags, no handshakes, Mar cut in. They learn our word first. Then we talk. The word was still spreading. On Sikri 7, a colony that once paid tribute to the Miraxis in exchange for protection, citizens painted massive Terran symbols across their buildings. When the Council sent a patrol to investigate, the locals flooded the streets in silence. Thousands of them, dressed in gray, holding nothing but a single black banner that read, Run. The patrol left. Not a shot fired. On the Delarith mining moons, where human engineers once worked under foreign flags, the Council's resource depots were found gutted. Every server, every processor taken. In their place, a printed image, taped to a wall with human duct tape. The girl from Virilia. Eyes closed. Arms around her brother. The message beneath, we remember. Back on Centaurian, panic was no longer contained. Markets didn't just crash, they ceased to exist. Currency had become meaningless. The Council tried to enforce emergency decrees, but communications still hadn't recovered. The words they broadcast reached only static. Councillor Miraxis convened an emergency assembly. "There will be no more denials," she began. "We have underestimated a species that bleeds quietly and calculates with fire. If we do not act now, there will be no council left." A few delegates nodded. One did not. The Ilex representative stood, slow and deliberate. "You called them primitives," he said. "But they are the first species in 1,000 years to bring this chamber to its knees. Not with weapons. With a word. With proof. With silence. They use sabotage." Miraxis spat. "They turn systems against each other." He ignored her. "They did what we never imagined because we believed they lacked vision. But Earth has seen war longer than any of us have been alive. We watched their history. We laughed. We forgot what comes after silence." Miraxis slammed a claw into the table. "They are dismantling everything." "Exactly," the Alex said. "And you still don't understand why." She turned, seething. "Then explain." "They aren't conquering. They're cleansing. The parasites, the liars, the ones who authorized the burnings." "You!" Miraxis drew breath to respond, but the chamber dimmed. A voice began to play. Not loud. Not angry. Just clear. A child, speaking from an old recording. "Please, someone, help!" The room froze. It wasn't a threat. It was a memory. On Earth, Mars stood watching the looped message as Council systems played it planet-wide. They had forced Earth to its knees with backroom votes and smiles of protocol. Now Earth responded with something stronger. Human grief. Not weaponized. Remembered. And that was worse. "They're calling it psychological warfare," Jian said quietly. "It's not," Mar answered. "It's just honesty. We never lied. We never needed to." Another screen lit up. A secure message from a frontier system. Rourke read it once, then passed it on. "The Drecker Confederacy just offered co-jurisdiction over trade routes. They're dissolving from the Council effective immediately. Fourth one this week," Imani said. "Council's losing grip. The spiral's accelerating." Mar exhaled. "Keep applying pressure. Nothing overt. Just show them their own reflection." Outside Earth's orbit, the Ghost fleet repositioned. Each vessel equipped not with brute force weapons, but with data harpoons, signal hijackers, system freezing scramblers. Precision tools. Surgical silence. In one cycle, Earth went from a diplomatic junior member to the most feared power in the galaxy, without firing a single missile. Because Earth learned early. When someone stronger kicks you down, you don't scream. You calculate. You wait. Then you make sure the next time they look at you, they remember exactly what they created. One child. One vote. One word. Run. They called an emergency summit. Not to respond, not to retaliate, but to beg each other for survival. The council chambers once echoed with pride. Now they echoed with silence and paranoia. Delegates glanced at every flicker of light like it might be the next human signal. No one mentioned the word, but it hovered between every breath. Councillor Miraxis arrived late, guarded and gaunt. She didn't address the others. She only asked one question. "Has Earth responded to the surrender request?" No one answered. Because Earth hadn't. Not yet. On the third day, Centaurian's orbit dimmed. Artificial satellites went dark. Comms failed. Again. This time, no sabotage. Just stillness. Then one untraceable feed flickered on. Earth's insignia. Then a face. President Elijah Marr. No preamble. No ceremony. "I won't pretend to forgive you." He looked straight ahead, the only human ever to address the entire council directly. "You orchestrated genocide with paperwork. Buried it under votes and treaties. Called it regulation. You didn't fire the bombs, but you signed them. You didn't hold the triggers, but you made sure no one could scream when they fell. A pause. No dramatics. Just words that pierced. We warned you. We gave you a chance to run. You didn't listen. You thought we were bluffing. You thought humans were too soft to bite back. He leaned in slightly. You were wrong. The feed cut. No threats. No conditions. Just truth. Then the ships arrived. Human vessels didn't look like war machines. No polished banners. No glowing shields. Just cold hulls, matte black, and quiet. They didn't open fire. They didn't need to. Every defense grid on Centaurian shut itself down 5 minutes before they entered orbit. Inside the chambers, delegates tried to flee. But the doors had locked. Counselor Vok, bruised and bound, was already there. They didn't ask how. They knew. Miraxis stood frozen. She turned slowly to the dark-suited man who entered without announcement, weapon holstered. Terran. The same kind of quiet monster they mocked a cycle ago. You have no authority, she spat. He stared back with eyes that had seen planets burn. We have no need for it. You think you're ruled by fear? No, he replied. We'll never rule you. He dropped a small device onto the floor. A hard light projection lit up. Images of the 17 children confirmed dead on Virilia Prime. Each name whispered as it appeared. You ruled without accountability. We just held up the mirror. One of the delegates dropped to his knees. The Terran turned to Miraxis. You're not prisoners. You're evidence. She shook. You can't. He raised his hand, and for the first time, she went silent. The room lit up again, this time with feeds from across the galaxy. Thousands of species watching. Billions of eyes. No edits. No spin. This was Earth's reckoning, and the galaxy was the jury. Council members were named. Each crime read aloud. Footage, audio, transcripts, no leaks. Just full declassification. Council security footage. Raid orders. Vote tallies. Signed and timestamped. One by one, systems revoked loyalty. Borders closed. Embassies evacuated. Council enforcement ships turned back mid-flight. On the outer colonies, Council flags were torn down by the very hands once forced to salute them. On Earth, no parades. No celebrations. Just quiet. At the edge of the presidential compound, Mar walked alone. Rourke met him near the perimeter. We ended it, Rourke said. No, Mar replied. We revealed it. Jian joined them, datapad in hand. 62 species requesting entry to the new alliance structure. We're not building an empire, Mar said. They're not asking for a throne, Jian answered. They're asking for someone who doesn't lie with a handshake. Mar exhaled. Then we show them what honesty looks like. He turned back toward the command deck. Start the accords. No central power. No ruling class. Rotating leadership. Transparent votes. Open archives. And every delegate swears an oath. What oath? Rourke asked. Mar didn't stop walking. They swear they remember Virilia. Somewhere beyond Earth's orbit, a child's voice still played. Recorded once in desperation. Now eternal. It was never meant to haunt. It was meant to teach. And every time it echoed through an outpost, a flagship, or a foreign capital, the galaxy listened a little harder. The Council hadn't fallen to war. It had fallen to a single truth. The humans had asked for justice. When it was denied, they didn't scream. They whispered. One word.